Good morning.
107.9.
And away we go.
The Doctor of Discernment is on the air.
I love the Greg Belfrage show.
I've been listening to you for years, Greg. Thanks for
You
all
know,
you
I was
do.
talking to you guys all day yesterday, even though I didn't have the stream up and running. And I found a way around it today. So be more consistent in the morning and easier for me. So thank you for being here. Okay, here we go. Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show, Wednesday, February 26th. Great to have you along this morning. So the White House has, the House of Representatives has actually passed the GOP budget blueprint. So the Trump budget bill, the one big, beautiful bill that Donald Trump was talking about, it has passed the House. So they adopted a resolution that will eventually become the multi-trillion-dollar bill full of Donald Trump's priorities on the border, defense, energy, and taxes. So all of the Democrats in the House voted against the measure. I don't think that's much of a surprise. Also, Representative Thomas Massey of Kentucky said he was concerned about the effect of the bill on the national deficit. It's been a concern for, a number of Republicans when it comes to Donald Trump and his spending. So the budget bill passing and it includes $4.5 trillion in tax cuts. So a lot of celebration. House Speaker Mike Johnson had almost no votes to spare. And they were, all of the Democrats opposed it. You had some Republicans who were not very inclined to vote for it, as I mentioned. So there was the vote on Friday night initially appeared bound for a delay, and all of the Democrats opposing it, and the outcome was in jeopardy right up until the end. And it was Representative Thomas Massey of Kentucky wound up the only Republican vote against this. And Majority Leader Steve Scalise said, on a vote like this, you're always going to have people you're talking to all the way through to the close of the vote. And he said, it's that tight. And House Speaker Mike Johnson had said, and I believe this is him, he said, today House Republicans move Congress closer to delivering on President Trump's, this was a joint statement of the Speaker and House Republican leaders. So they said now they're delivering on the president's America First agenda, not just parts of it. This momentum will grow as we work with our committee chairs and Senate Republicans to determine the best policies within their respective jurisdictions to meet budgetary targets and so on and so on. And it goes on. So you start. Bottom line is the budget bill with $4.5 trillion in tax cuts, surviving that vote in the House. That is a big story this morning. Because what they're doing is they're laying the groundwork then to extend the Trump tax cuts. And Trump said, I should have checked Trump's True Social account this morning. I'm trying to do that on a daily basis. And sometimes I just get so wrapped up with, other stories that I don't swing around to it. But the president saying that this implements my full America First agenda, everything, not just parts of it, says the president. So that's a big story this morning. Also, the U.S. Agency for International Development, that's USAID, has posted instructions on their website for the thousands of employees who want to retrieve their personal belongings from their offices after they were fired or placed on administrative leave. So now USAID is giving them 2 days, well, tomorrow and Friday, to enter the building during designated time periods if they have items that they would like to bring home. You being personal things in your office, I think, Lord knows I do. People come into my office and they're like, "What, am I at your house now?" Or I've got so much stuff. That's the story of my life. That's going to be the epitaph on my gravestone. He had a lot of stuff. So they'll be allowing these USAID workers to go and collect their things and so on. And judges have sided with the Trump administration. So this continues then to move forward. You know, a lot of pushback and a lot of efforts to try to slow Trump down. And when it comes to the firing of these USAID workers, those efforts to block Trump have not been successful. There was also a big story this morning, and you maybe have never heard of Tiffany Henyard, and maybe you have, because she had been the mayor of Dalton, Illinois. And it's absolutely crazy what she has been doing. She's called the Dalton Dictator. Well, the Democratic primary was yesterday in her race, in the mayoral race in Dalton, Illinois. This is in Cook County, Illinois. And she lost. I mean, she lost in a landslide. And so the New York Post has got a story. This is their top story this morning. Dalton Dictator destroyed in Democrat primary following scandal-ridden mayoral term. Oh, man, scandals. Saying it was scandal-ridden is being kind. I mean, she is just, have you been, I mean, she has been the subject of a lot of videos of YouTube and a lot of folks who have been sharing the way she runs meetings and pushback from the residents and obviously leading up to a challenge in the Democrat primary. And yesterday she got her clock cleaned. She's got her clock cleaned. And I mean, I was watching all of this, and my wife, actually, it was Katie, who got me onto these videos. And she's watching them, and I'm like, what is this? And so she's giving me a little bit of background when I first started watching them. And it is just like, man, it's just absolutely, to say that she is corrupt is an understatement. I mean, her corruption is just like, she wears it on her sleeve, literally wearing corruption on her sleeve and acting like, oh man, it's just. So she lost her re-election bid yesterday, pretty wide margin, 88 to 12. Again, it's just absolutely amazing. So she is facing multiple investigations into her spending, including hundreds of thousands of dollars in public funds for personal expenses. An audit by the former mayor of Chicago revealed significant misuse of public money. It was like $43,000 in Amazon purchases in a single day. over $374,000 for her three vehicles. And she is out. It's all right. Also, other big stories this morning. Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, telling Sean Hannity on Monday night that she has discovered a number of officials that were telling illegal aliens about the agency's deportation operations. In other words, what they were doing then was assisting these illegal aliens, helping them to avoid being, caught. And she said, Noam was talking about leakers within the agency. And she said she's found some. We are continuing to get more. They will be fired. There will be consequences. And remember, when they leak information to the press in order to blow one up, in other words, she's talking about blow up, what law enforcement is doing, trying to blow up the law enforcement effort. She says they're putting law enforcement lives in jeopardy. They are risking their lives, putting families in the position where they have to live without those individuals. So you bet we have used every tactic that we have. If you remember, we talked just last week about how I'm using polygraphs to go after and to really interview these folks. Because and I'm laughing because it's just so refreshing. I mean, they're not fooling around. Playtime is over. The Biden administration is over. The games are over. The nonsense is over. And she said, we are a national security agency. I have a tool that I can use, also looking at their emails, looking at their communications. And it's amazing how these bureaucrats who have an agenda to stop the work that we're doing to bring safety to America, how they will sell each other down the river if it's just to protect themselves. So don't worry. I'm doing everything to find these leakers and to get rid of them so that we can do our work and our law enforcement officers and agents can do it safely. So that story is at One America News Network this morning. Also at Straight Arrow News has got a brief piece on this. I want to touch on some of the big statewide stories here this morning for you as well. The state House of Representatives is voted to pause the construction of any CO2 pipelines in the state. This is House Bill 1085, and at a 40-30 vote, the House passed it, and the sponsor of the bill is Representative Richard Vasgard, said the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration changing the final federal pipeline safety rules. And so the bill would prohibit any pipeline construction until those laws are published. So the state House of Representatives then voting to pause CO2 pipeline construction. Also, Republican Representative Lana Greenfield said, we don't know what's going to happen with the pipeline, but any chance that we have to protect our citizens and put on the brakes, we should approach very cautiously, she said. There were those who were opposed. Republican Representative Kent Rowe said, I can tell you once something gets thrown in a moratorium with these people, it never comes back out. Also, there's also reporting on this at the Dakota Scout. Dakota Scout also has got a story on tax relief coming to South Dakota homeowners. Legislators at the Capitol yesterday advanced a number of proposals, all aimed at addressing sustained, what they're doing, property tax rollback. And what they're doing is there have been a lot of calls from property tax owners in the state that you've got to do something. And so they are. Senator Taffy Howard said, if we don't get some real property tax relief for our citizens, I will help lead the charge to get something on the ballot to provide our citizens with some real relief, she said. Also, Patrick Galali's got an interesting piece over at Sioux Falls Live, a proposal for the city of Sioux Falls then to build that fence downtown, that adjacent parking lot. And there has been some rumors then that the Bishop Dudley Hospitality House might move, so on. And Patrick Lally's got a piece saying they're not going anywhere soon, he writes, that the Catholic Diocese has no plans to sell the land, a church official said earlier this week. Keloland TV's got a piece on a group that's come forward in hopes of keeping the Brockhouse collection from the Delbridge Museum here in Sioux Falls. And one who said, all my kids growing up, they love coming here, and the museum itself. You know, when I go through it, I remember seeing all the little kids giggling and laughing and pointing at that stuff. So another effort, and remember the city council had recently voted unanimously to part with the Brockhouse animals. But some of us, and I say this as someone who has also had a hard time letting go. We talked about this last week because I love those animals when I was young. I love taking my kids when they were young. So I think a lot of us have a hard time parting with them. Also, other big national stories this morning. And we have got to talk about this coming up. I happened to watch the White House press briefing yesterday. Not all of it, but I caught a significant portion of it. And I want to share some of the headlines with you this morning coming from Legacy Media. The Politico, let's start at Politico. White House seizes control of the press pool. Will decide which outlets cover events with President Trump. Yeah, Carolyn Levitt yesterday, basically, there's a White House Correspondents Association, and the White House Correspondents Association decides who gets to be in the press room. That's not being determined by the administration. That's being determined by the White House Correspondents Association. And so Carolyn Levitt says, yeah, they're not going to be making those decisions anymore. We are making those decisions as to who is going to be allowed. And then she talked about, you know, we're bringing in, they're bringing in agents, other news agencies, general, and not in every case, but they're folks like the Daily Wire and other more conservative news outlets. And I would say even just some more moderate, centrist news outlets that they are bringing in rather than, you know, ABC, CBS, NBC, the White House Correspondents Association then deciding. And right from the get-go, Carolyn Levitt says, yeah, we are, these seats up front, one of these seats, we're going to have a different person sitting in it each day. And now they want to get more people into the White House press briefings. And we have got to talk about this. I mean, I was just, because I'm listening to Carolyn Levitt yesterday, and she's talking about all of these other people they want to get into the press room. And she went so far as to say, and we are going to bring in some local radio hosts. They're not talking about small-time guys like me. I mean, but they're talking about local radio hosts, significant local radio hosts. We're going to start bringing some of them in. And I just found it really, really incredible as I was watching this. In fact, I posted on it yesterday on Facebook. So we'll open up the phone lines this morning. Should more media outlets and local hosts be admitted to the White House press briefings? We're going to talk about that coming up this morning, because that was just, I like Carolyn Levitt. She is just a powerhouse. I mean, she is out there. She is standing tall. She is standing firm. And you have seen this from Donald Trump's, press secretaries previously during the first administration. Carolyn Levitt, just like the second now Trump administration, where we see them just going nonstop and hard, fast and furious. And Carolyn Levitt's the same thing. I mean, it's I just watch. It's like, I mean, I said yesterday on Facebook, wow. I mean, because that's my honest reaction. Wow, I'm watching this. Wow, you have got to be kidding me. So it's a big shakeup at the White House press pool. And it's going to be really interesting, I think, to watch, and may got to change the news coverage that's coming out of those White House press briefings. And that's a look at the big stories this morning. Thanks for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show at 627. Partly cloudy and 36. This hour of our show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Campin Robbins, weekdays at 2. Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires. That gives you more. Thanks so much for being here.
Window World of Sioux Falls offers free estimates on a full line of vinyl windows. Let Window World of Sioux Falls be your one call.
And again, I should be more consistent in being able to bring you the 6 a.m. hour now. I'm using StreamYard. You notice the count. I mean, if you watch the beginning of the video, there was a countdown. So I'm using StreamYard just like I do when I'm doing the 4th hour. And I'm just streaming to YouTube. I have had consistent problems going straight to YouTube. So I'm like, when I realize StreamYard, it's not an actual program. It's a web-based service that I'm using. I'm like, why am I not using StreamYard, man? So thank you for being here. What it's going to mean for you who watching the 6 a.m. hour, it's going to be more consistency. It's going to make it easier for me. It's going to make it more consistent. I was trying to access YouTube directly and was having consistent problems with YouTube, especially at this time of the morning. Why? I don't know, but StreamYards will eliminate that. So, okay, let's see what else is going on.
Izervay or avastin-capsid Pagel is a prescription eye injection used
There he is.
Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
I just think Carolyn Levitt, the White House press secretary, she's a rock star, man. You just laying it down with the media. She's not taking, just like Trump, not taking any guff. Just oh, they're up in arms. Associated Press and everybody there just up in arms. It's great. Yeah, I'm happy when the media is sour. And in Sioux Falls at 6:30, partly cloudy and 36. Joe Bowman's in the Kello.com News Center. We'll check in with him shortly. You're listening to the Greg Belfrage Show on Kello.
Chris Foster. House Republicans
passed their big budget blueprint 217 to 215 after some last-minute convincing. Majority Leader Steve Scalise.
When you're bringing a big bill to the floor, you're having conversations with those members that are on the fence all the way up until the vote's closed.
They're going to slash and burn Medicaid, slash and burn veterans benefits, and slash and burn nutritional assistance for children and families.
Top House Democrat Hakeem Jeffries. More prayers for Pope Francis, hospitalized in Rome for a 12th day.
The Vatican says the pontiff remains in critical condition, but he had a quiet night at the hospital. Pope Francis is battling double pneumonia. A light drizzle in Rome let up as hundreds of Roman Catholics gathered to pray the rosary for Francis in St. Peter's Square.
Fox's Gary Baumgarten. America's listening to Fox News.
Kello News Time, 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. The South Dakota House of Representatives has just approved a bill which would place a temporary hold on CO2 pipeline construction permits until federal safety regulations are set in place. The bill stems from concerns over an incident in Mississippi where a CO2 pipeline rupture sent dozens of people to the hospital. The measure passed 40-30 and now moves to the Senate. Public streets and highways are no place for racing or exhibition driving. That's the message of a bill passed by a legislative committee yesterday. The proposal was recommended by law enforcement officials in the Sioux Falls area, including State Attorney Daniel Hager of Minnehaha County.
This bill really helps strengthen the safety of our public streets. All of us are using those. Our children are using them. They must be safe. What this bill does not do, it does not apply to private property.
The bill was amended in the Senate to address concerns about its potential negative impact on the Sturgis motorcycle rally. The bill now moves to the full House for consideration. Lawmakers in Pierre rejected a bill that would have phased out the state's future fund. The House voted 32-38 against the bill, which aimed to cut employer fees that fund economic development initiatives. The measure faced strong opposition from business interests. Critics say the fund lacks legislative oversight. The first ever recorded tornado to hit South Dakota on a February day happened outside Watertown earlier this week. On Monday, a local storm chaser captured the event on camera about 15 miles southeast of Watertown. No damage was reported. The tornado was described as weak and brief. This marks the first recorded February tornado in South Dakota since records began back in 1850. And in sports, the Sioux Falls Skyforce rallied to defeat the Texas Legends yesterday, 114-107. Both teams meet again on Heritage Court tomorrow night. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Partly cloudy skies today, just a little bit cooler in Sioux Falls. Our high 52, still well above the averages. Northwest wind at 10 to 20. For tonight, northwesterly breeze will continue, low at 31. And then for tomorrow, mostly sunny with a high in the mid-50s, upper 50s on Friday. From the Storm Center at Kettleland TV, I'm meteorologist Brian Karstens.
Where you learn to listen and listen to learn. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Let's talk about big tech billionaires' popularity. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the most hated of all? I'm Kim Commando for NetSuite. Download the free CFO's Guide to Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning at netsuite.com/Kim. So who does America hate most in big tech? I mean, there's so many. First, Apple's Tim Cook, but he manufactures things that make people happy. Google's Sundar Pichai, he never seems to irritate anyone. Amazon's Jeff Bezos, his soon-to-be wife irritates everyone, but she's not the boss.
News about Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. There are like 4 or 5 stories just about Doge that are trending. Doge it's trending news is becoming more like the Doge update every day. There are more and more stories about what they're doing, lawsuits and so on, or judges deciding in their favor and moving forward. So I'll run those down here for you shortly.
Ask 9 experts and you'll get 10 answers. Rates rising or falling, inflation being up or down. Can someone please invent a crystal ball? Until then, over 41,000 businesses have future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle.
Okay.
Bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all into one fluid platform. With one unified business management suite, there's one source of truth, giving you the visibility and control you need to make quick decisions. With real-time insights and forecasting, you're peering into the future with actionable data. When you're closing the books in days, not weeks, you're spending less time looking backward and more time on what's next. And speaking of opportunity, you can now download the CFO's Guide to AI Machine Learning at netsuite.com/Kim. The guide is free for you at netsuite.com/Kim. That's netsuite.com/Kim. netsuite.com/Kim.
The Kim Commando Show, live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello News Talk 1320, 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires, with 2 locations to make sure you have the proper traction this winter.
But this country was founded on freedom. Freedom from a country that forced us to buy overpriced tea and then trying to blockade us when we dumped their tea into the ocean. How'd that work out? Well, it's time to throw your overpriced big wireless contract overboard as well. Pure Talk, a veteran-owned company, my cell phone company, says no to inflated prices. With a qualifying plan, you can choose an iPhone 14 or a Samsung Galaxy for $0. And yes, this is for premium service on America's most dependable 5G network. Get your iPhone 14, Samsung Galaxy, $0 qualifying plan. You just dial pound 250, you say the keywords Pure Talk, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team will make the switch in as little as 10 minutes. No hassle, no gimmicks, just honest-to-goodness wireless price right. Dial pound 250, you say the keyword Pure Talk, claim your new iPhone.
Hey, a quick word from my friends at the new 49th Street Liquor at the corner of 49th Street and Minnesota Avenue. Hey, they've got some special pricing going on through the month of February, so a couple of more days. If you want to save on Ron Diaz rum, $16.88 currently. 1800 silver tequila, $26.88. Crown Royal, $49.88. They've also got savings on Bud and Bud Light, 6-pack for $6.49. Busch Light, a 30-pack for $18.99. So you've got a few more days to take advantage of that. Also, you got a special event coming up for St. Patrick's Day. Think of 49th Street Liquor. They've got all of your favorite beer, wine, and spirits. A staff that's terrific. They want to show you around, help you find exactly what you're looking for. Or maybe you want to try something new. They got a lot of great ideas for you, whether it's seltzers, whatever it may be. Also, some local beers that you might want to try at 49th Street Liquor. So stop in, say hello, give them a look. I think you're going to be really pleased at what you find. Your happy hour starts at the new 49th Street Liquor at 49th and Minnesota.
That's what you'll always get on Kello Radio, and you can even get more at Kello.com.
In-depth stories, podcasts, and more.
For more of South Dakota, go to Kello.com. Kello News Talk 1320, 107.9.
6:39. Martin Leclani in 36. Hey, it's great to have you along this morning. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show, brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month. And coming up later this morning, we'll check in with Jim Olander, the voice of the Sioux Falls Stampede. Stampede had a good night last night. So we'll talk about what the Stampede's been up to this past week. Jim Olander will join us coming up this morning at 8:05.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
Well, yesterday, the Republican House passed a budget plan. It's the one big, beautiful bill that Donald Trump had been asking for as part of his agenda. So Republican leadership managed to win over enough holdouts. Again, all of the Democrats voted against it, but they were able to talk some of the Republican holdouts into voting in favor of it. In the end, there was only one Republican representative, Thomas Massey of Kentucky, He raised concern about the plan adding to the U.S. deficit. He was the only Republican to join the Democrats in opposing it. House Speaker Mike Johnson said, "We got it done." He said, "There's a lot of hard work ahead of us, but we are going to deliver the America First agenda. We are going to deliver all of it, not just parts of it," said Speaker Johnson. Also, the president yesterday unveiled plans for a gold card, which is aimed at wealthy foreigners. According to CNN, this initiative would allow, now we're talking about people who are wealthy, okay, they're affluent, they've got means. It would allow them to gain residence and eventually citizenship in the United States by investing $5 million. So this was made during an Oval Office briefing yesterday. The announcement indicated the program would likely replace the current EB-5 immigrant investor visas. And the Secretary of Commerce said all the applicants would undergo strict vetting to ensure their suitability as world-class global citizens. So the president suggested this program could result in millions of sales, legally permitting foreign investments. When he was questioned about the eligibility of Russian oligarchs, the president said they could participate, and that was pretty much the gist of what the president was saying yesterday. Now, the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, has agreed to the terms of a minerals deal with the U.S. You remember initially, Vladimir Zelensky was opposed. No, there will be no minerals deal. We're not going to see the minerals deal. Now he is saying yes to the rare minerals deal. Remember, he had initially refused to sign it. It's a $500 billion agreement. And so he has now reversed his position on this. And Kyiv hopes that signing the agreement will ensure the continued flow of U.S. military support that Ukraine wants. The president also confirmed that Zelensky will be visiting. The president said yesterday, "I hear that he's coming on Friday. Certainly, it's okay with me if he'd like to." He was asked about having Zelensky there, and as they sign this, the hopes are that they're going to be able to sign some of the agreement between the U.S. and Russia. We'll see. Other stories trending this morning. The bloodbath at USAID continues. President firing 2,000 workers, putting thousands more on leave. And I mean, this is just all but a fraction of staff at USAID. This comes after a federal judge on Friday allowed the administration to move forward with the firings, and the judge had rejected pleas that came in a lawsuit from employees. They were trying to block the plan, and the judge said no, allowing the firing of these employees to march on, to continue. Also, 21 staffers at the Department of Government Efficiency have resigned. These are civil servants, and their team was folded into Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. They resigned yesterday, writing in a joint letter posted publicly that they refuse to use their skills to put Americans' data at risk and dismantle critical public services. I mean, how worried are you about these things? So, how worried are you? We've got federal employees telling us how worried we should be, how concerned we should be, and how much our data is going to be at risk. You put any credibility in their concerns? Also, not everything has been up or has been downhill for Doge. You had a federal judge who temporarily barred Doge from gaining access to employee information held by the Office of Personnel Management and the Education Department. So OPM is essentially the HR department of the government. And it calls the ruling by the judge in Maryland, oh joy, Maryland, the most wide-ranging block on Doge's activities to date. And unless that's overturned, then it could make things more difficult for Elon Musk's team. Also, Elon Musk is already being sued over the ultimatum he issued to federal workers over the weekend. The Associated Press says that the State Democracy Defenders Fund filed a newly amended lawsuit in federal court in California on behalf of unions, businesses, veterans, and conservative organizations, saying that Musk's instructions for federal workers to list and explain 5 accomplishments from the previous week or risk losing their jobs is a violation of law. So lawsuits over this. Also, there's a story regarding Doge that they're going to start using AI to assess responses from federal workers who were told to justify their jobs in that email. So the information will go into a large language model. This is an advanced AI system that looks at huge amounts of text data to understand, generate, and process. And the AI will determine whether someone's work is mission critical or not, according to this AI. Again, some of these are legacy media stories, so keep that in mind as you hear them. These trending stories are coming from a variety of different sources. Also, Britain announcing on Tuesday that it will ramp up its military spending in the coming years. UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer meeting with the president at the White House tomorrow. And the president has, pushed European allies for a long time to spend more on their own militaries and contribute more to NATO's defense. And so Starmer told Parliament in the UK that they would increase their military spending from 2.3% of gross domestic value to 2.5% by 2027, and then to 3% by 2034. Also, this was a big story yesterday. It's trending this morning. The president saying Monday he wants to revive the Keystone XL pipeline. And the president said this should come back to America and we should get it built now, he said. I know they were treated very badly by sleepy Joe Biden, but the Trump administration is very different. Easy approvals, almost immediate start. If not them, perhaps another pipeline company. We want the Keystone XL pipeline built, Trump said on True Social. Have you heard these new poll numbers for Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson? It's a lower approval rating than any other sitting politician in the country. It is bad. This was almost 80%, 79.9% of people who are, now these are registered voters in Chicago, and nearly 80% of them say they have an unfavorable opinion of their mayor. Wow. When are these people going to, when are you going to learn? Seriously, when are people going to learn? So, of course, you have an unfavorable opinion of him. Duh. I mean, when are you going to learn? When are you going to change? I don't expect change anytime soon. Also, Kathleen Kennedy is retiring from Disney. And she has presided over the Star Wars franchise over the last 12 years for Disney. And she has endured a lot of criticism. I mean, folks have been really unhappy, including me. Some of Disney Star Wars stuff is like, what? What is this mess? So she has announced that she is going to retire at the end of this year. So for those of you who are Star Wars fans and you really have been none too happy with what Lucasfilm has been doing with the Star Wars franchise, I think you're going to be relieved that Kathleen Kennedy is on her way out the door. Also, Justin Bieber, Steve Carell were among celebrities to skate in a hockey benefit game. And this was for the LA Fire Relief Fund. So you had Justin Bieber, Steve Carell, Snoop Dogg, and a number of other celebrities skating in this hockey benefit game, again, with proceeds going to the LA Fire Relief Fund. Kind of a neat thing. Brian Koberger is back in the news. An Idaho judge has unsealed the transcript of a closed-door hearing. For those of you who are following the case of murder suspect Brian Koberger. Also, we're learning that U.S. seasonal flu cases have skyrocketed, their highest level in at least 15 years, according to the CDC. So the current U.S. flu season is shattering records, topping numbers going back to the early 2000s when swine flu was a big issue around the country. A U.S. citizen and Texas rancher based near the border were killed earlier this month by a cartel IED. This is right along the U.S.-Mexico border. Texas Department of Agriculture announced the news on Tuesday. 74-year-old rancher and another U.S. citizen who were killed in Mexico, just south of Brownsville, Texas. And there were other injuries. So this was an explosive device, an IED, you remember those, that went off. And the Texas Agriculture Commissioner issued a statement regarding the violence near the Texas-Mexico border, calling the incident tragic and alarming. This is near Brownsville, Texas. So you had a U.S. citizen and a Texas rancher killed by an IED. Also, the Supreme Court ordering a new trial for a death row inmate, Richard Glossip. He has spent decades on death row. Supreme Court on Tuesday ordered he's been scheduled for execution 9 times, served his last meal 3 times, and now he needs to receive a new trial because there were errors that were committed by prosecutors. Speaking of death row inmates, story trending this morning regarding a South Carolina death row inmate chosen to be executed by firing squad. That would make him only the 4th inmate in the U.S. to die by firing squad. Also, there was a near miss Southwest flight from Omaha to Chicago landed safely after a close call at a Midway airport. Southwest Airlines pilot forced to abort their landing to avoid potentially hitting another jet on the runway at Chicago Midway International Airport yesterday morning. This story, there's been a lot about this asteroid. Oh, this asteroid's coming dangerously close to Earth. Oh, we're watching this asteroid. It may hit the Earth, and this would be this is going to be the end of time. If this thing hits the Earth, it's all over. That's been the media, and now comes the headline. You can stop losing sleep over that asteroid. Yeah, it's not going to hit the planet. It's not even going to be close. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know about you, but I haven't lost any sleep over that asteroid. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. And the media just loves to get everyone all worked up. Okay, 6:57. Art Laclani, 36. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show, brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Most important viewpoint is yours. Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.9.
All right, my friend, thanks for being here. Hope you'll be back at 9:30 for the 4th hour. I will see you then. Take care.
Sure, you don't know what those are or why you need them, but it's